wants you for a lawyer, and you're going to defend him for murder. How much do you charge him? And he looks at me and says, everything he's got.
Sure. Changed his life. What do you think?
Everything he's got.
But I understand that it cost him about $12,000.
Well, they said he's...
Metropolis?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
The
Petropolis.
father, they had a
Schneider.
Schneider. What did he...
He's a Schneid. She's a Schneid, but Petropolis' wife is a Schneid.
I thought he
She's
sold
related to these
$20,000
Schneids up here.
Of bonds.
Where you live, your street.
Yeah, the whole area was owned by
Oh,
Schneider, the whole section.
All Schneids around here.
No, she's a real ignorant, very ignorant.
But you know, I never knew that about her, but I know her son's, you know, teachers, one of them.
Well, her sons turned out pretty well, I understand,
nice.
both of them.
Yeah.
You know, at that age, I could expect, you know, that kind of prejudice is,
Yeah, but
you expect it in a child, but you don't expect it in an adult.
Did they live on the corner?
Right on the corner, yeah.
Yeah.
The corner of Elmwood Avenue and Corinth.
Oh, all right.
I couldn't go out of the house or come home without going by there.
It wasn't Elmwood Avenue.
No, not in Corinth, it can't be.
Lawrence.
Davenport.
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 No, what was the other street down at the corner?
Lawrence Avenue.
What?
Lawrence.
Avenue.
Lawrence Avenue.
The one that went to
right.
Fish Line.
That's
right.
right.
Fish Line.
Yeah, I guess that's where you got your middle name, James.
Lawrence.
You wanted like the name of the street.
James Lawrence.
That's like that's like
Nancy
CS Hunter Stanton.
Every little while,
You know,
he
that's a
has
New
an
York joke.
intermission and he'll say, does anybody want tea or coffee?
And nobody gives him
And
an answer.
whoever speaks up,
Honey, do you
and
want
then he goes
coffee,
back to
please?
what he's doing, and then in about 15 minutes later, he says it again. Does anybody
It's like a little part of his little routine.
Oh, no, I just wanted to know. I'm trying to zero this thing in. I'm having a hell of a time with it.
You're taking my picture all the time, aren't you?
No.
I can tell.
It's not a camera. It's not a
feel it.
camera. But is it, you gotta take the camera?
It's a video camera,
Was it running?
and
Got
it's
it working?
videotape. Huh?
You got it working?
I think I got it set up now. I think it'll work just fine.
He doesn't want you to know he's recording now.
You know something?
That looks like Jack's. Remember we used to play Jack's?
Yes, doesn't it?
I'll get some, just see if I can get it
Use
going.
that like another
Put some
regular.
hot water on.
The hot water's on. All I have to do is
Phil?
turn it up a little.
Man doesn't
Who
live
wants a
by
little
bread
tea?
alone.
Mother,
I
you want a
know.
little tea? I'm going to get it.
You know what I mean?
That's what I told the girl one day. She said, get the hell out of here.
You want some tea, Mama? Anyone want tea? I'm
How you
gonna...
think, and you,
Anybody
some people,
else want
it
it?
doesn't give you a payback right away.
Right away, yeah.
You know, sometimes you do things for fun.
He does a lot of things for fun.
Yeah, it's a vinyl. Yeah, that's what I got too. But mine, that's fun. Saturday the 26th.
Move it sideways, just push this down.
I don't know what the hell this thing is for, but it's all right.
What time is it now, Harold?
9:30?
9:30.
Oh, boy, it's earlier.
And you
No,
can
wait a
zero.
minute.
Come here.
Oh, I gotta get some. They're waiting for the plates. They got room, those little rascals. They got nothing here. No, not here.
You got the plates on the table.
I want the cups for tea.
Oh, here's the tape.
Oh, tea.
Where are the cups?
On the other one.
Over here?
Yeah.
Whoops. Oh, all right.
No, I just said that. No, I said it. I did. I'm always doing it. Don't worry about it. Cups.
Cups over there?
Cups have never been used.
No?
I don't think so.
Why, don't you have tea or over there?
Who the hell has, we have an everyday cup
Oh,
that we use
everyday
it 7
cup,
days
yeah.
a week.
That's all I have.
You have a cup for every day in the week, the same cup.
Same cup.
Me too.
Yeah, you snap it out after you use it.
I do, I wash it out.
I don't wash it, you snap it out and then you set it down.
I
That
didn't
gets
send-
too crummy.
It's ready.
That looks like a surveyor's kit.
I saw her talk about tea.
You got me?
Gotcha. Smile. Do your song and dance.
Yeah.
How about a shot of Deborah here? Turn around, Deborah. Say something.
Cheese.
You're a wise ass.
They don't say cheese now, they say money. Money.
That makes them smile.
Hey, say
More.
something.
Sex.
Guaranteed way. Guaranteed way.
Employment.
Hey, if you got any last night,
That's on the car.
guaranteed. You got a win on your forehead. A win.
Hey, girls, turn around, smile for TV.
Hello, how are you, James, Lawrence, Melcher?
How do you like this thing? It's working.
Cool.
It's up and running.
Pretty cool.
Are we on
right now?
Yeah, you're on television.
Oh, that's great. Look at that. I want some to Should we get an extra cup?
It's a,
I got some here. We got
Do you go out there want chamomile tea?
just records.
You want tea? Tea?
Go.
Okay, it's September 26th, 1981, and we have just finished a party. We have Aunt Bessie, Carr, and Philip Melcher, myself, Carl Melcher, and James Melcher will join us when he gets out from behind the camera. We're going to ask Aunt Bessie to talk about some of her childhood recollections from
Why don't
Russia.
you mention Stu and Harold?
Well, Sue and Harold were here, but they're not here now.
Oh,
They were here at the party, but
Oh,
this
yeah.
is just a little attempt at some family history. And we want Aunt Bessie to tell us about her earliest childhood recollections from Russia and those recollections she has when she arrived in the United States when my father was a small child. Why don't you start wherever you want, Aunt Bessie?
your father was a small child?
You were about 9 years old, 8
Oh,
or 9
yeah.
years old.
See,
and
there I'm
my father,
mixed up again.
my father was.
I mixed him up with you.
You mix him up, yeah.
That's okay.
Is that all being recorded when I'm talking?
Sure.
Just go ahead and talk naturally. It's doesn't matter. Why don't you put that down, Dad?
Well,
Somebody broke it.
Yeah.
I
Tweak this later.
I was living home with my father and my stepmother, and my sister was married, and her husband was in America, and she had a room close by at a relative's. It was a cousin of mine. She was a Shapiro, and she had a room. She was rooming or boarding there. I don't know, living in a room by herself. And I used to spend most of my time with my sister because she was like my mother. I was a year and a half old when my mother died, and she sort of took care of me and brought me up. So she was like my mother,
Was that Chirka?
Chirka, my
Which
sister
is my
Chirka,
father's mother.
father's mother. And so when her husband went to America to seek his fortune, and she remained in the old country in Volozhin, the name of it was, and she was waiting for her husband to send for her. That's what in those days they used to send
Her husband was Alter.
Alta Melcher.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old was Alter when he left Russia? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. But
Could you
Alta
guess?
he was
He
the
was
first.
in his 30s.
He was? Yeah, he was madly in love with my sister, and they were first cousins, and I remember they talked about not letting them get married because they were so closely related, see. But they did get married, and I was at the wedding, and I remember my brother, I had a brother that was, wanted to become a rabbi, and he was in another town, living there, going to school. They had a big yeshiva, they called it, in that town, and he was going there, and he came in for the wedding. He was holding me on his lap, and he gave me some coins to play with, and I remember he was a very nice man.
How old were you then?
Well, I must have been about 7 years old, or 8 years old, I really don't know.
What year would that have been?
What?
What year was that?
What year was that? Well, in 18,
It'd be about 1903.
yeah, well, I
1903.
came here when I was 19, in 1904. And then her husband sent her ticket to come to America.
This was
With
Chirka.
money, Chirka.
Okay, how long, let me ask you a question. How long after they were married was my father born? I hope the answer is at least 9 months.
More than that, I think. I think it must have been a couple of years.
So they were married a couple of years.
I imagine, yeah.
Okay.
And so my sister wanted to go to America, but she didn't want to leave me with my father and my stepmother. So there was a lot of talk about me going to America and me not going, and she was angry, and she sent back the ticket to her husband, and she said that she can't go just now, you know, because she was having a fuss with my father, who was her stepfather, about taking me. She didn't want to leave me there, and he didn't want me to go. He said he'll never see me again. So I was the youngest. I wasn't the youngest. I had another stepsister, you know, for this last wife. He had a child.
What was her name?
Sarah.
She stayed in the old country?
No, she came with her mother. Her mother had sons from her first husband, so they got their mother to America too. Anyway, my brothers here in Jake, and I think it was just Jake that was here, and now I had a brother in the Catskill Mountains, and they sent for money to bring me here so that Chicka would come to America, and that's how I came. And I remember we stopped in Liverpool. We were there, had to wait a few days till a ship came in to take us to America. And I remember running around on the porches and people and all the immigrants and everything. And then when we got to America, I was sick, seasick a lot.
On the boat?
On the boat.
Do you remember anything about the accommodations on the boat?
Oh, it was just like, it was third class, I think. Everybody was all together there.
Crammed in?
Steerage. Steerage. Well, before that, I remember my sister wasn't well, and she went to bless you.
Thank you.
She went to see a big doctor in the city, Al-San, and she wanted to know if she could travel, you know, and he told her it was all right, that she could go. So she went. So she wasn't a bit sick on the journey, but I was.
What was wrong with her?
She had a heart condition.
Did they say what it was?
No, just a heart, a weak heart, something.
Did she have rheumatic fever when she was a little girl?
Might have, they didn't know it.
How did I know?
Sure.
I did know. I was older than her. You know, she was younger than me. Anyway. So anyway, we got to America, and my brother Jake and Sam Shapiro and Alter were there to
Pick you up
pick us
at the
up
boat.
At the boat. And we had to go through a lot of examinations and everything.
This was at Ellis Island or
Ellis
Castle
Island.
Garden? Where was
Castle
it?
Garden.
Castle Garden. Do you remember it?
Vaguely.
A lot of people?
Oh, yes. A lot of people. Some were sent back. They didn't. Some
Couldn't make it.
they wouldn't accept because they had, a lot of people had lice in their heads. And that was one of the main worries. No, and other diseases and so on. And do you want me to go on and tell
Sure.
about?
Want to hear all about it?
Well, you know, Judy's going to be very angry. I got to interrupt a little bit. Because she's been wanting to make a tape of my life, and I refused to do it. I said, I don't want to talk, because her father-in-law had a tape made, and they all listened to it after he was dead. And I said, I don't want that. I don't want to. And now she's going to be
Well, maybe we'll get her a copy of it. We can copy this.
Yeah, I know, but she'll say, why don't you do it for me, Mother?
She has a tape recorder?
No, she doesn't have a recorder. Yeah, she has.
TV recorder?
Because, yeah,
Video recorder.
she has a recorder because they did her father-in-law's. Well, anyway, I stayed with my sister. She had a nice little house on Center Street in back of the store. Her husband had a store. Alta had a cobbler shop. And they lived in the back. There was a little house and they lived there. And they were happy, but she was sick all the time. She couldn't even mop her floor. I know he used to do that. He'd sit me on the table while he was mopping the floor, and I used to, you know, when she was upstairs in bed, and I don't know, I was with her a lot.
What would her symptoms be?
Her sickness was her heart, as far as I know, because once he sent me to a farm with her, with the baby, with Fievel, and her and I took to this farm, and he boarded us out there. And she used to get weak spells in the middle of the night, and what I used to do was take some rubbing alcohol and rub it on her chest, and that used to revive her. That's what I used to do for her. And then I helped her with the baby, and you know, he was a couple of years old, and like that. And I loved her very much, because to me she was mother, you know. And then she got real sick at one time, and they gave up the house, and they went to live with Shapiro's, Sprints and Abraham Shapiro. They took him in, and I went to live with my brother Jake and Annie. You know, it was on the same street. And she wasn't well at all. And I was going to school, and you know, you kids forget things, and one day I was going to school, and they said, and then there were some relatives that lived upstairs over Shapiro's, in the same house where the Shapiro lived, and I was going to school with Jenny Rudnick. She'd taken me to school, and she says, come on, I want to go and see my cousin first. Before we go to school, I have a cousin visiting there. So I went in, and there was Alta crying and telling me that du hast nicht mehr keine Schwester. To me, he said that in Jewish. And she was laid out on the floor. She was a corpse. She was dead. And I got terribly frightened, and I ran away. And then later on, when they had the funeral, I was hiding in Annie's closet. All afternoon I stayed there, and I was hiding because I didn't want to see that. Frightened, and so I didn't go to the funeral. When I got older, I always regretted that I didn't go to the funeral. And then my life went on. You know, I was going to school. I was trying to learn to talk English, and it was very hard for me. It was terrible. And
You spoke only Yiddish?
Yiddish.
Did you speak Russian or
no,
Polish?
Nothing. No, just Yiddish. And I went to New York. I had an aunt there, and I spent a few months there with my cousin. She had a daughter. Went to summer school in New York. And my father, in the meantime, arrived, and I have a brother in the Catskill Mountains. See,
Mike.
yeah, my brother, he had a hotel there, a small hotel, and they wanted me to come there because my father was there.
What was your father's name?
Fivey Yosef.
Philip Joseph.
Yeah, Fivey. And they, I got to get my thoughts together.
Okay, let's take your time.
Yeah.
Dad, do you remember any of this?
Nothing.
No, he doesn't.
How old were you at the time?
I must have been 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah. I felt very close to Phil. I felt he was my little brother, you know. And I hated to leave him when I went. I remember I hated to leave him with his father. We were boarding out. And it was, you know, I'm no actress, you know, I can't.
You're not acting, you're just talking.
I'm just,
There's no acting here.
no, but I
Why
feel
don't we
that
take
it's being
a break for
recorded,
2
and I
minutes?
feel,
Let's take a break for a few minutes.
yeah, because I feel, I don't know.
Okay, just shut it off for a minute, James.
I'm not going to tell you my whole life history.
Well,
You're gonna leave out the juicy parts, huh?
Granddaughter then too. They all lived together there on a farm because they were running a hotel, the Myerson family
This was in the Catskills?
in the Catskills. And
Where in the Catskills was it?
in the Catskills, Spring Glen,
Sullivan
Ellenville, Sullivan County, yeah.
yeah.
And I was a loner, like. I used to play by myself all the time. I used to, when the boarders used to leave, I used to go into their rooms and pick up all the little pieces of ribbons and the hairpins and everything that was left in the drawers. And I had a little place in the barn upstairs where I used to hide all my treasures in the box. Judy has that in my story, I think. That I remember. And I remember my sister-in-law used to give Minnie and I duck's eggs. I used to love duck's eggs, hard-boiled. They were delicious for our lunch, you know. We'd have to take our lunch.
Big egg.
Yeah, they were big eggs. They were delicious.
Bigger than chicken's eggs?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
twice as big.
yeah, and they tasted good. And, oh, man. And then we used to go in the winter. My brother used to take us on the sleigh to go to school. Many times we tumbled out into the deep, deep snow.
There are horses.
Yeah, horses,
Yeah.
team of horses.
There are horses.
Yeah. And did you ever meet my brother, Saw?
Soft, yeah.
Yeah, Saw.
I met him. He
Yeah.
came here one time.
Well, the funniest thing, one funny thing, when my brother Jake took me to school, he didn't give my name as Myerson. He gave my name as Rudnick because his name was Rudnick, and he entered me into school by his name. You know, I had a sister and so on and so forth. So I was Bessie Rudnick until I went to the Catskills, and then they were so mad. What do you mean your name is Rudnick? They said, your name is Myerson. My brother and his sons and daughters, he has a family there. So I didn't know how could I go to school in the winter, and I didn't know how to write my name. I only knew Rudnick, I didn't know Myerson. So during the summer, I remember that when in the kitchen, I used to go in the kitchen, you know, they had boarders, but the help was always in there, and I was with them. I used to poke around, sometimes I'd dry some dishes or something. So I was learning how to write Myerson on the steamed window. I remember he had a daughter, Lena, and she was kind of up in things, you know, so I used to practice that name so that I could get it right. And by the time it was time for me to go to school, I knew how to spell Myers. So
That was in
spelled
English?
it M-E-Y, yeah, Yara, so in English.
Did you write Yiddish before also?
No, I never wrote Yiddish. I was
Yiddish
young. You know, in those days, they didn't send girls to school much.
Cheder.
Yeah.
To Cheder, men, boys.
Mostly boys.
So that was one of the things I remember that was outstanding in my mind. And what else?
Let's see, what else?
I told
Well, how long were you in the Catskills? Until how old?
How old was I where?
In the Catskills.
I was there a couple of years.
She must have been about 8, 9 years old.
Well, I was 9 when I came here, so I must have been
12.
yeah, 11 or something. And then my father decided he wanted to go. I had another brother that lived in New Bedford, Mass. And my father wanted to go to visit him or something. I don't know. I went with my father to New
Well, your
Bedford.
father had come to the United
Oh,
States?
he came. He was in the Catskills. That's why I came
Oh, I see.
here. And my father was old, and he used to just read the Bible all the time. My father was very old when he died.
He must have been pious,
Yeah, he was very religious.
religious man.
So, you came back to North Adams then?
So then I was with my brother. I lived with my brother Ike and Rosie for a couple of years or 1 year in New Bedford, I don't know, and then he moved to North Adams and I came with him. That's how I came back to North Adams. I was 16 years old when I came back to North Adams.
Everybody was poor then.
Yeah.
They moved
Yeah.
on
But
necessity.
if you know, all my brothers brought me up. I lived with this brother and then with another brother, and you know, they were all married, and my sister-in-laws were all very nice to me too.
How old were you when you were married?
26.
Oh, you were an elderly woman at
Yeah.
the time.
Oh, at that time,
At
yeah.
that time.
They had
But
given up
I
hope for
didn't
you.
want to get married. I had a wonderful girlhood. I had a lot of fun before I was married.
Oh, you never told us about that.
Well, that I'm not talking about. I told
Used to go dancing and
oh, to a lot of
Sure.
dances, and I won prizes, and
Oh, really?
yeah, for the
Were
most
you a
popular
flapper?
girl.
She used to work for Flurries.
Yeah, and we had a nice gang there. We used to go on sleigh rides and climb Mount Greylock.
Oh, boy.
We
All
used
the
to-
good things.
There's, we used to, now they go up there, but there was a time that there was just a little road where we used to walk up. We'd be all coupled up, and we'd have a chaperone, married couple with us. And we used to take blankets and lunches, and we'd walk all for about 2-3 hours to see the sunrise. So we'd walk up to Mount Greylock. It was a beautiful
In the
walk.
dark?
A what?
In
Sure.
the dark before
Dark,
sunrise?
sure.
Wow.
It was very,
Was there a good road up at that
They
time?
still do it.
yeah, we used
They
to
walk up.
go by trolley as far as Cheshire. And
Oh, you
in
went up?
Cheshire, we used,
Not Cheshire.
Cheshire Harbor.
Oh, Cheshire Harbor. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and they went right
That route up there.
So we used to get off the trolley at Cheshire Harbor, and then we'd start that walk, a narrow road.
It wind around the
Yeah,
mountain.
wind around, but it was up the hill. And then we all sat, the boys used to build a fire, they brought, you know, kindling wood and everything. It was cold up there, you know, it was
Yeah,
awful
you're
cold,
right.
yeah. And we'd watch the sunrise. It was the most beautiful thing you ever saw, is the sunrise coming up from the, below the mountain. Beautiful.
So, you were married when you were 26 years old to Nathan?
Yeah,
26?
very happily married.
She was quite an old maid at the time.
That is very old for, it's
Well,
even old for now.
No.
No.
well,
My mom
anyway,
was married at 18. 26 is old.
married
Lily was 28, I think.
William,
30.
30?
30?
who, your mother? It's like my Temmy was married. Afterwards, they got married. Girls were older.
Right.
But when I was married, 26, it was really, I was almost ready for the shelf.
Yeah.
Sure, at that age, you know.
What made you?
But I didn't feel that way.
What made you stay away from marriage for so long? Because of your own
You
choice?
didn't really meet the right one, you know.
Yeah. That's interesting. Did you ever think about it as like, oh no, I'm getting old? Because of the, you know, Chicago's end?
I never thought of that. I just thought of having a good time.
Bessie, tell us a little bit about the clothes you used to wear and the meals you used to eat and the day-to-day things that you used to do in Russia as best you can recall.
I don't remember. I remember our kitchen was a big, long table. We had wooden table with benches. And
What type of utensils did you use? Were
Dark.
they wooden or were they metal? Or
well, I don't know.
how about the floor? Was it dirt or
Wooden
was it
floor. No.
wooden floor?
No. My father owned the house.
Oh.
He was a cobbler, and he was doing his cobbling in the house, in the corner of the house. And a couple of rooms were rented out to people.
Was there always enough food to eat?
Oh, yeah. I never went hungry.
Were you ever aware of any anti-Semitism in Russia?
See, I was too young for that. I was too young for that. I know when we'd go walking, and we never went by a church. We used to cross the street.
Why?
Superstition.
Well, no, anti-Semitism. We hated the Russians.
Oh, yeah, I know.
There was a lot of hatred
It
there.
was in the Polish, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Poland, I think, then. But we were, you know, didn't want any part of it, and we were scared of them.
Were you ever personally subjected to
No.
any anti-Semitism in
No,
Russia?
never.
Over here?
Not that I
How
know.
about in this country when you came here?
Here, no. Here, I had a lot of Gentile friends. I worked with them, and no, never.
What about you, Dad?
What?
What about you?
What do I, me, there's nothing I don't remember was in my childhood. Only as I was growing up, that's all.
Used to get in a few fights now and again.
Oh, well, same as any kids.
I was
Well,
told.
I remember when you climbed up on a roof.
Oh, yes.
It was terrible, and we were, you know, called, the teacher called Bessie Myerson, and she had to go to school to make excuses, or she send a note or something.
What was
And
that?
he used to climb, he was very mischievous, your father.
No.
He was.
Kind of like John.
Something like, I was just gonna say,
very
something like
active,
John.
yeah.
Were you hyperactive, would you say?
Yes, oh yes,
I was a skinny kid.
yeah. I bet he didn't get enough to eat, did you,
Yeah,
Phil?
I got enough to eat, I think.
Did you go hungry sometime?
Well, any kid gets hungry.
No, I mean, just skip meals because were you afraid to go home, or your
Oh,
father was going to
sometimes
lick
I'd
you?
be
Or
afraid to go home, so I'd skip a meal.
Yeah.
you were on the outs with your father, as you put it?
I'd sleep out sometimes too.
Where'd you
In
sleep?
the barn or
In the cold bin?
How old were you then?
Not in a cold bin.
No, somebody said you,
No.
no, that wasn't true.
I was too smart for a cold bin.
Sleep in a
was
loft, a hay loft?
Yeah, sometimes in a hay loft. Sure.
Yeah, we'd go looking for him. Not me so much, but
Just wake up in the morning.
Wake up in the hay loft?
Sure.
I want to know the name of this
Get up in
movie.
daylight.
What's the name of this movie,
Go to bed at 7, 8 o'clock.
James?
It's called The Life.
We gotta get paid for
It's
this.
The Life and Times
Bessie, we gotta get paid for this.
of Bessie.
We ain't
Yeah,
getting
we
no-
got it. That's why I
Myers
want
and
to find
Carr.
out a little bit about what I'm doing.
We get royalties on this.
All right,
Yeah,
we'll
well,
give you
when it
25
becomes
cents.
syndicated, then we'll get royalties.
We'll give you 25 cents for every showing over twice a year. How's
See,
that?
them days, a nickel would buy a piece of pie,
Yeah, that's
a nickel
right.
would buy a glass of milk,
Right, you didn't need much money.
and it was a big piece of pie, you didn't need much.
How much did you make a day?
Make. And I used to pick up junk and beer, whiskey bottles, and we used to sell them, and that's where I made my spending money.
How much did you get for 'em?
For a whiskey bottle, about 1/2 cent.
There were quite a few of them around Center Street.
Yeah. Well, you go around the back alleys and all around, you pick up bottles.
How old were you when you started doing that, Dad?
About 9 years old, 8 years old.
What would you do with the money?
Oh, you buy things,
Buy
things
candy.
to eat,
Candy. Not sure you know.
Not sure I.
I'd sell papers, sell magazines, Saturday Evening Post. Saturday Evening Post, we used to make a nickel on every one.
That was good money.
Yeah, you go around all those bar rooms, and saloons, and hotels. And you used to make, I used to get along.
35, 40 cents a day.
Was that the start of the Melcher fortune? Is that?
No, I never saved it, I used it.
You blew it, huh?
See, you talk about me. I can buy it honestly.
Come
Yeah,
from
but
a-
when it come time to save it, I saved it, I had it. And that's the way it was, only it was harder. My father never gave me anything because he couldn't. I remember my father saying that he took in $75 in 1 week and thought it was a good week's business.
Probably was.
Sure.
Bessie, let me just ask something here. I'm interested in the personal interaction of the people, especially my grandfather, Alter. did you ever find him to be a physically demonstrative person? Did he ever show affection or to anyone, to you? Or
I didn't know him hardly. I hardly knew. I knew my aunt, his wife.
Sister.
oh, his
His
wife?
wife.
Jerka, your mother.
Yeah.
No,
Sister.
no.
My mother was your
Not-
sister.
Yeah, but I knew Alter. No, not Alter's wife. What was your grandfather's name?
My grandfather? Gee, I don't remember. My grandfather's name was Melcher, wasn't it?
No. He had.
never
You know what
know.
he was doing? He was a hat maker. He used
Yeah,
to make.
Pilsner.
Yeah, Kirchner.
That's right.
And his name was Yankel. Yankel.
Uncle was my father's brother.
Oh yeah?
I don't remember ever his name.
Tell me if Alter was a
I never
warm or
remember.
affectionate person, or if he was.
Yeah,
kinda
he was very
standoffish.
affectionate with my sister. Yeah.
But otherwise he wasn't.
Yeah. Otherwise he was a loner. He was.
I never remember my father picking me up and putting him on his lap. I don't remember ever, giving me a kind word or anything
Well,
like
in
that.
those days, the people
They were
weren't.
afraid for...
I don't know. They weren't with their children like they are today. Like you were very distant with your children. It was always a crossword or scolding or something like that. In those days, families mostly, what I remember. And life was tough, and people were bitter, and
Well, it was hard making a living.
Hard
them
making a
days.
living.
Sure. They could hardly make a living. We used to live upstairs over the store. It was cold. In the winter, freezing. In the summer, it was boiling. And I used to be outside all the time.
and Minnie used to lay in bed and read books.
I don't remember.
I remember that. I used to come up with Bessie to visit. She'd have such a dirty kitchen, and she used to lay in bed and read. She was disgusted. She was having a kid every year, and
I guess Alter showed some
Every-
affection.
Every other year.
every other year. Yeah. Well, his second wife. She was a very beautiful woman, though. She was very pretty.
I couldn't blame her for being angry with me because I was a rough kid.
So that's where John gets it from?
It must be.
Why were you such a rough kid? What do you mean?
Well, I'd be into everything. I'd be like kids are today.
Isn't it remarkable how it skips a generation and then shows up again?
You think John is patterned after his grandpa?
Actually, I think it passed on through me, because I remember doing that when I was a child. For instance, setting fire in the back of his Royals truck.
Sure.
Remember
Yeah,
that?
sure.
When I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and trying to palm it off on Jamie, who said, "I couldn't have done it, I'm too small," to the firemen.
Fireman passed it over.
Well, they didn't do anything, they didn't put me in jail, but it sure scared the hell out of me.
Myerson collected insurance on that.
They probably ended up making money on it.
Sure did.
And
Never fixed it.
And then when I was 14 or 15, I chopped down a maple tree on the side of his camp. And I remember him saying he was going to cut my ears off.
What do you have against this guy?
Nothing, I liked him. His Uncle Yisrael. We got along very well. In the last years of his life, we were pretty good
Oh
friends.
yes. He thought a lot of you.
I thought a lot of him,
Your
too.
father.
I remember once.
I think you were his best friend, weren't you, Phil?
Sure.
Yeah, he used to come in the store every day.
Sure. Oh, sure.
And once when Uncle Yisrael was a very nice man, but he never turned down anything. Now, whenever you offered
He
him
was
something,
always out to make a buck or.
yeah, whenever you offered him something, he'd accept it. And I had some bubble gum one day, and I didn't think anything of it. I offered him a piece of bubble gum. I didn't tell him anything or warn him anything. I didn't think anything about it. He accepted it and unwrapped it and started to chew it. Pretty soon, he was chewing up and down, but his teeth were locked together with the gum.
Oh my God.
So he ended up having to take his false teeth out, upper and lower plate, and take his knife out and scrape the bubble gum off his teeth.
Get him.
And God, was he mad.
did.
And
I remember
you know,
that.
I didn't mean anything at all by it. I didn't think a thing of it when I gave it to him. It was kind of humorous, but he was really
Sure.
upset
He
about
was
it.
angry?
Oh boy, was he angry.
Oh my God.
It was really,
Yeah.
it was really funny. But
Did you
it,
blow any bubbles?
no, he didn't know it was bubble gum. I didn't know it was that sticky. It didn't stick to my teeth. But he was very good to me. He used to loan me his car.
Oh, sure.
I used to go out on a date with his car once in a while, even.
That was something, if he lets you take a car, boy.
Yeah. I remember the time he got sick and had appendicitis.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was sick for a couple days, and it was just kind of fever and a little bellyache. It's interesting that he had appendicitis.
They didn't operate on him?
Oh yeah, they
Yeah,
operated
in
him.
Pittsfield.
How old was he then?
Oh, he must have been 75 then.
Yeah,
That was when Claire was living at home.
maybe 70, because how old was he when he died? 79 or,
80.
No, he wasn't that old.
I don't think he was an 80.
No.
He was 77
Yeah.
or 78.
They operated, they said he had polyps or something.
Yeah.
He had a tumor of the colon.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and they operated on him, and he probably bled a little, and he got hypovolemic, and his pressure dropped, and he had a heart attack. And
Yeah, that's what he died from. But they said that it was cancerous too, that the polyps.
But he probably could have lived many more years if he hadn't had that heart attack, which was precipitated by the shock, I guess is the best term.
It was malignant?
Yeah,
Yeah, they said it was.
that's not unusual, but at that age he could have lived for a long time with that malignancy.
Did he used to bleed, did he?
I don't know. I don't know the details of it, but I know
I
that.
know he used to take mineral oil all the time.
Yeah,
For years,
yeah.
he took mineral oil.
Now I know what it is to be on a talk show.
I run out of things to say.
This is like a talk show.
You got a whole lifetime to pick from. You can say whatever you want.
But be careful about whom, because we might show it to him.
What do you mean? What do you mean I got a whole, what?
You can say anything you want about anything that happened to you or anyone you know.
Yeah, but it's for publication. I don't know if I want to say.
I gotta go to bed. I'm
When
tired.
you were in Russia, what were the houses made of?
Hey,
Were they made of
it's 11:15
stone?
already.
Oh my, no, can't be. I gotta go home. Susan will
12
have a-
minutes after 11.
Oh,
Wow, so,
the houses were wooden houses. You know, some of them had thatch roof, but not ours. Ours was a regular built-up wooden
It had
house
the-
More than
it had
one
with
the
windows and everything.
Grass roof.
Huh?
Grass roof.
They had the straw on the
Straw
roofs,
roof.
what do they call it? Yeah,
Thatch, yeah.
but not our house.
No? Had a
No,
real
no.
house.
Shingles.
Was it more than
Yeah,
one story?
we had a regular house.
More than one story?
Sure.
No, just one
One
story,
story.
just one downstairs.
And did people sleep all in the same room, or were there lots of separate rooms, or
Separate rooms, some with curtains in between.
did you have your own bedroom?
No, I had a corner of the living room with a curtain over.
How about cooking, Bess? Did you have a regular stove, or did you cook at the hearth, or
The hearth.
on the hearth?
You didn't have stoves.
I
They
didn't
built
do
the
any
stove
cooking
into the
during
building.
And where did you get your food? Did you grow it? Did you buy it from farmers? There were
There
no
were
grocery
stores.
stores. There were grocery stores?
Sure.
Yeah,
How about kosher meat? That was a problem?
There was nothing else but kosher.
I don't know.
was it an all-Jewish town? No, it
No.
wasn't.
Jewish
No,
neighborhood.
Jews and Poles and Russians. Did you see Fiddler on the Roof?
Yeah.
That's the kind of a little town I lived in.
How many
Fiddler on the
people,
Roof.
maybe?
What?
How many people do you think lived in that town?
How many people?
Was it as big as North Adams? Was it much smaller?
No,
I don't know.
probably like Cheshire, Clarksburg,
Yeah, maybe.
Couple
all
thousand.
villages.
Yeah, villages with a lot of woods and,
Did you have close neighbors to you?
Sure, they were
Houses were
bunched
close?
in.
Oh, yeah.
There was a farming community, that's what it was, really.
Did you have a cow or horses or
no, we
sheep,
didn't.
goats, anything,
No.
chickens?
So there was specialization.
We didn't.
Shoe cobbling.
Maybe we had chickens, I don't know, but they had and some houses in our house had it too. Under the floor, there was I don't know, we used to open up a little door and let the chickens in there, right under the floor.
Oh, yeah?
And
Let them come into the house?
Sure.
they, not in the house, but they'd be under the floor. It's
Sort
like a
of
separate
like
little
a cellar.
Small cellar.
cellar, yeah. And that's where the chickens used to live there, you know, and then we'd feed them and let them out in the daytime, and at night,
Was there a door from the outside also?
there was a little door from the outside that you pulled open. I seem to remember that. I don't know whether we had it or whether somebody else had it, you know, but that was there.
Did you go to school there?
What?
Did you go to school in Russia?
No,
How old were
no,
you when you left?
no, I never went to school there.
You were 9 years old when you left.
I was 9 years old when I came, but no school.
No school.
You're not compelled to go to school in Russia there
Russia
at
is-
that time. You
A
live
lot
the
of
way you want.
illiteracy in Russia.
Did your parents try
Poland
to teach you to
too.
read, or
All right?
did anybody teach you to read, or you never learned to read or anything?
I can't hear you.
Did you ever learn to read? Did anybody ever teach you to read or write?
No,
Nobody.
nothing.
Her mother died when she was 1 1/2, and she
Oh,
lived
really?
with her stepsister, who was my father's mother.
Uh-huh.
And her father was too busy making a living, I presume, to...
To pay
And
attention.
one thing I remember, you know, it's in my story that Judy wrote too. That's a funny little thing. You know, my sister had a candy store, and I used to go in there a lot. In the back room, there was blankets and stuff. So one night I went in there and I fell fast asleep. And my sister didn't know that I was asleep. She locked her store and she went home. My father, sometimes I sleep with her and sometimes I sleep with my father's house. So they each thought I was with the other. Then finally, they came to the conclusion, I don't know how, that I wasn't there. So anyway, my father and my sister went looking for me, and they surmised that I must be in the store. And I remember they unlocked the door, and I remember they woke me up. I was on the floor asleep. And then I was standing on the counter, and they gave me some candy. And my father carried me home. That's one of the things I remember. I must have been about 6 years old or something like that.
What did they call you?
Peshke,
Peshka.
yeah.
What does that mean?
That's
My
the
name was Pesce.
Peshka is
you
a
know.
diminutive affectionate.
Yeah.
Little
Peshke,
Pesci.
Yeah, Pesce. You know who used to call me Pesce? Izzy Shapiro. He used to call me that. Pesce the master, you know,
I
like
mean,
that.
even later on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I didn't know him in Europe. Well,
What, Izzy's father was a horseman, wasn't he?
Izzy's father?
Yeah. Did he raise
No,
horses
no,
and sell
Sam
horses?
Shapiro was a
Or his
horse.
grandfather, rather. Was it
Izzy's-
Sam Shapiro?
Sam Shapiro was a horse thief. They said.
No, he didn't steal horses.
No, but what did he do?
They traded in horses. They
Yeah.
used to go.
Sam
They
Shapiro's
used to go to auctions
father.
and buy them and then sell them to the farmers.
Yeah, but they called it that.
Wasn't
To the
Sam
peasants.
Shapiro's father Avram Shapiro's father?
Sure,
So
they're brothers.
they were brothers, Sam and
brothers,
Avram.
yeah.
So Izzy's grandfather then?
They were big.
Was a
in-
horse dealer.
In Russia, they were.
Yeah.
Not a horse thief. I'm just,
No,
you know,
I-
they used to.
They
kid-
were well-to-do in Russia.
The Shapiros.
Oh yes.
Why did they leave?
Why did anybody leave?
Well, everybody was running away
Everybody
from
ran
Russia,
away
from the
from-
pogroms.
My father left because he had to go in the army.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he left.
Tell me about the pogroms.
I
What do you
couldn't
know
tell you
about it?
anything about them. I don't
Do you know
remember.
anything? Have you heard anything
How
about
old,
it?
he was 3 years old, weren't you? How
Had
would he know?
Had you heard anything about it?
No.
No, we never had to run away
Only
from
what
it.
what you read, you can read it too.
Yeah,
But no firsthand or
Cossacks.
direct secondhand experiences.
No,
no, we didn't.
no, the only, my folks left because he had to go in the army, and he went to Germany, from Germany he went to England. He worked in England to get passage and come to,
How long did he stay in England?
I don't know.
Was it was a couple of years, wasn't it?
I don't think he was there 2 years, about a year probably, maybe 9 months or a year.
Were you with them all that time?
Worked in England.
Oh, yeah?
No, not my father. My father stayed in Russia
Oh.
and came over with his mother, probably about 2 years after Alter left Russia.
2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years. So you were born when he left.
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh,
were-
yeah.
You were how old? 6 months, a year?
Oh, I know.
He came to visit. I think he came to visit.
Who?
Your
Get
father.
that? Came to Europe?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No?
No, he wouldn't have come back to visit.
Never got money enough.
Do you know who came to visit Melcher? You know, Epke's husband.
Yeah.
I remember he came on a visit.
Manowitz?
Man,
Yeah, Manowitz. And he went back. And,
Wasn't it difficult to get out of Russia?
now, them days, if you
No,
had
no.
if you had
It
money
was-
enough to get out,
Oh,
you
yeah.
could get
That
out.
was Tsarist Russia, not Communist Russia.
It's the Tsarists, you know, the Tsars were no good. That's why you got communism.
well, when's the grand finale?
We're all done now.
We're all through.
James,
I guess
I
that's-
gotta go to bed.
It's over. I gotta go home.
Right.
I guess that's
Susan, have
enough
a
for
good
one night.
Well, thank you both. Thank you all three. Dr. Melcher. To be continued.
Oh,
Thank you.
my back bothers me.
What do they say when they sign off on a talk show?
Thank you and good night.
That's all.
Thank you and good night.
She's